Alright guys, welcome back to the second Batman project in this DCCU collaboration. Over the past couple of days, we've had some great project pitches. We've had one from Jack V Films with Wonder Woman, JT Videos for The Flash. We've had two from Afflex with Superman and Green Lantern. If you're new here or just haven't seen my first Batman project yet, I will put a tag in the video and a link to it in the description below. Once again, everybody who has had a phase 1 project, I will put their channels in the description below so you can check out all the other projects if you haven't yet. But without further ado, let's get into the second Batman story. So the title of this project is going to remain relatively simple. It's going to be called Batman: The Court of Owls. And more or less, the cast that I put into place for this Batman world in the previous video is staying the same. There's no changes. The only difference is a couple of people being added to this cast. So first, we're going to be having Gabriel Macht as Harvey Dent. We're also going to be adding Ana de Armas as Catwoman, and there's also another casting that will be revealed as the story progresses. The new district attorney, Harvey Dent, sits in his office late at night, around 12 a.m., doing some paperwork. Paperwork in preparation for tomorrow's trial to put Tony Zuko behind bars for life. It's been 6 months since Batman and Robin had their run-in with Penguin and Zuko. As he sits in his quiet and dark office, Gotham City News plays a segment about the work that Harvey has been doing in Gotham. Gotham doesn't just have Batman to thank for cleaning up their streets, but they have Dent to thank as well. Seemingly annoyed, he turns the volume down on the TV, feeling as if he has done some good work, but more is indefinitely needed. Suddenly, gunshots are heard on the level below him. Being such a dedicated servant to the people of Gotham obviously puts a target on Dent's back, hence the police guards he has watching him down below. "Where is it? What the hell is that thing?" are some of the things that Harvey Dent hears being said. Gunshots and what seems to be death screams are beginning to flood the majority of the noise. Dent grabs a gun taped underneath his desk, and he slowly gets up and aims it at his office doors. Moments of silence feel like 1,000 years as Dent waits for someone or something to barge through the door. And indeed, something does barge through the door, completely ripping the doors off their hinges. This thing, shrouded in darkness, stands at the entrance and stares at Dent. Dent fires 3 times, but this thing that stands like a hunched over man dodges all 3 bullets with ease. This dark being makes its way closer to Dent as it keeps dodging his shots, and Dent eventually runs out of bullets. As this creature of the night gets face to face with Dent, it extends its arm with long, razor-sharp talons and prepares to strike. Just before it can get in its kill, bullets get shot from behind and pierce the creature's back. The creature lets out a high-pitched scream that makes Dent cover his ears in pain. It jumps on Dent's table and leaps out of his office window, escaping into the night. The gunman who saved Dent was Jim Gordon. Transitioning to the Batcave, Bruce sits at the computer doing research while getting a coffee poured out for him by Alfred. He's continuously researching his ancestry tree and still trying to figure out the mystery of the group photo he found in Penguin's Iceberg Lounge office. Alfred asks Bruce if he's made any progress in the investigation, in which Bruce says no. Everything he has on the history of his grandfather, all the outlets and history textbooks of Gotham City have no valuable information about Patrick Wayne being involved in business with mob bosses or secret cults/syndicates. Alfred also notices Batman has cameras open on Selina Kyle in her studio apartment. He knows Bruce has missed her after he ended their relationship over a year ago. When he asks Bruce why he's spying on Catwoman, Bruce gives a reply of just making sure she's not starting any trouble, which deep down is exactly what Bruce wants her to do. Sounds of sparring are heard in the background, where Alfred tells Bruce to take a break from his research and help someone else who may need it. Here is where we see Barbara sparring and training with new recruit and, might I add, adopted son of Bruce, Jason Todd, finding him only weeks after Dick Grayson's departure and already filling the void he left. Jason is good and honestly quite talented. He might have the rawest talent of anyone Bruce has found, but he needs to learn to utilize his talents intelligently. Jason is currently learning Japanese fighting styles with Barbara, in which he still has a lot to learn. He can be arrogant and too quick to anger, which does not help his cause. Bruce looks at them from a distance and tells Alfred if he can't even land a hit on Barbara, he's nowhere near ready for me. Bruce then gets an emergency dispatch from Jim Gordon asking him to meet at the DA's office. It was the creature again, Gordon tells Batman. Bruce gets up and puts on the mask and makes his way to the Batmobile. He tells Barbara to suit up and meet him at the DA's office and tells Jason to continue his training. Jason is obviously upset, but he is not ready for field work. At the DA's office, Batman overlooks the massacre the creature dealt out to the officers assigned to Harvey Dent's protection. A crime scene is waiting to be built while Batman gets first look and discusses next steps with Gordon. Harvey has been moved to Gordon's GCPD precinct and will be kept under 24-hour surveillance. But of course, this is not the first sighting of the creature. This is one of many over the past 2 to 3 months. The only difference is that this time, the target of the creature wasn't killed, whereas all the others have been. The same pattern persists as it previously did with Penguin. Important people who can significantly change the state of Gotham for the better, are being targeted. Gordon shows Batman the strength this creature had to rip the doors across the room and where he shot the creature. Noticing blood on the ground, Batman analyzes it. It's not red, but black, and has no particular scent to it. Using his detective mode to learn more about this blood, Batman learns it's a 95% oil-based compound mixed with 3% blood and 2% unknown materials. He activates tracker mode to follow the blood trail of the creature when it jumped out of the office. Gordon proceeds to look at another part of the room where the doors were ripped off its hinges, and then looks back at Batman to ask how he plans on finding the creature. But Batman himself is already gone. A couple of blocks away from the DA's office, Batman follows the blood trail to a sewer hidden away in a dark alley. Before entering, Batman contacts Batgirl and gives her details on the situation. He tells her to keep an eye on Dent at GCPD while he continues to investigate. Heading into the sewers and following the trail, Batman hits a dead end. A wall where the blood trail ends, yet the creature isn't there. Batman once again activates detective mode and notices it's a secret door that, once opened, leads about 30 feet down. Batman, of course, figures out a way to open the door and uses his grapple hook to slow down his descent through this 30-foot drop. Landing on metal-grated flooring and in a large and very dark open area, Batman continues to use his detective mode to scan the environment around him. He notices 4 creatures standing somewhat hunched over and sleeping, although their body structure seems no different than a human. Their breathing rate is faster than Batman has ever heard before, not to mention very loud as well. And think of I Am Legend, that scene where Will Smith walks into the abandoned building and all of the zombie-like creatures are sleeping and breathing very heavily. Noticing a 5th creature, which happens to be the injured creature, at the end of the room by a table and injecting something into its arm, Batman slowly makes his way towards it without alerting the sleepers. As he gets closer, extremely bright floodlights turn on, and over a PA system, he hears an unknown person say, "You're not supposed to be here. It's not your time yet." The particular creature Batman was tracking turns on him, and the other 4 creatures wake up and begin to attack as well. Up close and personal, Batman gets a good look at these creatures. Black outfits and daggers and other throwable equipment attached to parts of their bodies like belts and packs, swords strapped to their backs, and what seems to resemble an owl mask. "Go, my Talons, do your duties." Another announcement from the unknown voice. Fighting these Talons, Batman realizes how physically strong they are, and whereas Batman could deal just as much physical damage, he chooses to use evasion techniques and uses gadgets for certain strategies to avoid winding himself. Doing solid damage to these Talons, but realizing their durability to be increasingly heightened, they abandon the fight against Batman and flee through ventilation shafts. Of course, Batman would throw tracking devices on all 5 Talons. Batman quickly returns to the surface, but just before he left, he takes the tube that the Talon injected into his arm. Contacting Alfred, he has him track the movements of the 4 Talons while he continues to track the one who went after Harvey Dent earlier in the night. The Talon Batman follows is going to Arkham Asylum. The Talon sneaks into the asylum and hunts down its target, approaching the cell and ripping it open. Racing towards the asylum in the Batmobile, Alfred updates Batman where the other Talons are. 3 of them are heading for the GCPD, and the other has gone offline. Alfred alerts Batgirl to expect trouble, where Gordon shores up extra defenses around Harvey Dent. Batman arrives at the asylum to find many guards slain and certain defense systems destroyed. The Talon is now in Penguin's cell, as it almost sounds like it's torturing Penguin for information, where he says, "I didn't say anything. The order remains intact." Batman uses his grapple hook to pull the Talon out and decides to resort to brute force in this fight. After what was a strenuous battle, Penguin lays beaten and in pain. "I told you there were things I had to do, and there were others who will continue what needs to be done." Batman feels as if a bigger picture is coming together. Meanwhile, at the precinct, chaos ensues as the Talons attack. Interestingly, only one Talon seems to be focused on Dent. The other 2 are focused on Batgirl and Gordon. It seems each Talon is given a very specific target they cannot stray from. Throughout the fight at the precinct, Gordon and Batgirl put up a good fight, but Batman shows up just in time to tip the odds in their favor and to ensure the safety of Harvey Dent. With the Talons fleeing the fight and Harvey Dent showing his gratitude for his safety, Batman and Batgirl return to the Batcave. Here, Batman drops a bombshell. As they return out of the trunk of the Batmobile, he pulls out the body of the Talon from the Arkham incident. Batman heavily sedated the Talon after the fight in hopes to steady what and who this is. He throws him on a medical bed near the Batcomputer and takes his mask off. He looks like a normal man, other than the very pale look and black veins that surge through his neck and up to his cheeks. Although they notice something oddly familiar about the man. Batman places the injection tube he found earlier on a table and gets Alfred to start DNA testing. Suddenly, there's a ping on the Batcomputer. The 5th Talon that went off the radar has re-emerged. Batman checks its location and darts into action so fast that Batgirl and Alfred don't even know what is happening. The 5th Talon is at the apartment of Selina Kyle. Selina sits on her couch, having a very ordinary night, as her cats start to meow very loudly and constantly. Most of her cats are facing towards the bathroom, which the door is nearly closed. Knowing something is very off, she grabs her whip and slowly walks towards the bathroom. She slowly opens the door and sees no one in the bathroom until the Talon comes crashing down on her from the ceiling. Selina defends herself against an unknown enemy, but of course finds it very difficult. Batman eventually arrives, in which she says, "What took you so long?" and helps her fight the Talon. Making the Talon flee once more, Batman is done with the cat and mouse chase and decides to follow it back to its lair. It leads him back to the sewers and that same room Batman initially found them in. The Talon escapes through vents Batman cannot squeeze through. He uses his detective mode to analyze the structure of the floor and notices the materials are breakable with enough force. He uses explosive gel to blow a hole in the ground and discovers something unbelievable. A couple 100 feet below, hollowed out beneath Gotham, is a lair. A secret base for these Talons, a sizable one too. Even though he's shocked, Batman doesn't second guess anything and glides down to the surface. Landing in a dark corridor, massive floodlights turn on once again, and Batman seems to be stuck in a maze of walls with hundreds of Talons surrounding his position. A man in a suit and an extravagant owl mask stands amongst the Talons and says to Batman, "Now is your time." Batman races to find a way out and fights a horde of Talons along that way. And I would use the nightmare scene as a reference for this scene, where Batman gets surrounded by a ton of Superman troops and parademons from Batman vs. Superman. And during this scene, he is eventually overpowered and knocked out. 1 week has passed and Batman has disappeared. Day and night, Batgirl and Alfred have been searching all around Gotham for him with the assistance of Nightwing and Catwoman. Batman's suit tracker and any other gadget he may have had on him that could help them triangulate his position has been turned off. At this point, amongst all the worries of Batman, Alfred continues to study the Talon that has been sedated for about a week in the Batcave. Alfred finally gets a hit. It was hard to find since their DNA has heavily been altered due to the black oil in their bloodstream, but Alfred is shocked and cannot believe what he's seeing, calling everyone back to the cave, including Catwoman, because in this world, Catwoman is very much in the knowledge of who the secret identity of Batman is and the entire family. Alfred reveals the DNA structure to be a match to Dick Grayson. For this man is Dick Grayson's great-grandfather. As everyone is in shock and quite honestly weirded out, Alfred then explains what the injection tube is used for. It's basically a medical syringe used to heal or pump in adrenaline. The difference is that this stuff runs through their veins. It keeps them mindless in the sense that they can't talk or question orders, but it also keeps them alive and in peak physical condition, considering he'd be over almost 120 years old. Now that they have this information and Nightwing's still trying to deal with the fact that this man is a distant relative, it's time to find where they're coming from. Bruce wakes up in a room that looks like it's from the late 1800s. Not wearing his bat suit, but just regular sleeping attire, he leaves the room and walks down a long hallway. Leading to the doors at the end of the hallway, there are portraits on the walls of old people who were once part of this organization and portraits of great battles throughout history. Bruce walks through the doors and enters a massive room, decorated with a fireplace, multiple couches, many shelves of books and texts, a huge window wall that outlooks their sanctuary, and an office table at the end of the room. Sitting at that table was the man in the suit Batman saw before fighting the Talons and being knocked out. Even though to his memory, Bruce's experience hasn't been the best here, the man is very friendly and cordial to Bruce. Talking to Bruce and asking how he feels, Bruce is very stoic and on the defense. This is where all is revealed to Bruce. The man calls himself the leader of the Court of Owls, an organization that helped build Gotham City and has frankly been around for hundreds of years before its development. A cult that rules the surface from the underground as they see fit, explaining to Bruce that the Court of Owls has had run-ins and connections with some of the most notorious groups to ever exist in history, such as the League of Shadows, the Order of Saint Dumas, and even run-ins with ancient magic users such as members from the Sorcerers Supreme. He explains to Bruce that Harvey Dent was being targeted by his Talons because he was changing far too many things in Gotham, things that don't fit the Court of Owls' plans. He also admits that he wanted Bruce to be part of his plans, that Batman would help him immensely. And when asking the man why he sent Talons after his friends and loved ones, the man says that he believes they were slowing him down, and they don't have what it takes to be a member of this organization the way Bruce Wayne Batman does. The man then says to Bruce, "You can be the future of the Court of Owls." He takes off his owl mask, and Bruce is shocked, knowing he's seen this familiar face before. The leader of the Court of Owls is Alan Wayne, his great-great-grandfather. And this is the casting I was secret about earlier. Alan Wayne would be played by Richard Armitage. Alan knows Bruce found the photo in Penguin's office, and that's how he somewhat recognizes him, but he had no idea he was family. Two separate generations of family in one photo, and Alan looks no older than 40. Alan reveals that from past unions with the League of Shadows, he has a small reserve of the Lazarus formula, which has allowed him to stay alive for so long. The injection tube that Batman found earlier, which had 2% of a material he couldn't identify, is a small mixture of Lazarus properties, which is enough to keep the Talons alive. Alan also reveals that Bruce's grandfather, Patrick, died a loyal member of the court, but Thomas and Martha didn't. Bruce, of course, takes great interest in this, and Alan, of course, explains. After years of trying to appease and convince Thomas and Martha to join the order, they refused and wanted nothing to do with its corrupt politics. Unfortunately, Alan couldn't risk their popularity from the people of Gotham and the type of pull they had, so he ordered Carmine Falcone to hire a low-life thug to gun them down in an alleyway. Alan plays off how sad he feels to have made that decision, but Bruce, filled with anger, attacks Alan and for some reason feels unskilled and not capable of fighting properly. Alan grabs Bruce's head and slams it against the window, where he sees many people wearing owl masks and an army of Talons. Alan tries to tempt Bruce and tells him that if he joins, he can lead with him, and that Batman can be an agent for the court. Gotham can be the base of the Court of Owls, and one day can dictate throughout the entire world. Suddenly, Alan lets go of him and disappears. Bruce drops to his knees and begins to scream in pain. He is literally turning into an owl. Well, it turns out that even though that conversation was real, the setting wasn't. Bruce is actually on a medical table being sedated, and behind a two-way mirror is Alan Wayne. The doctors can't seem to keep Bruce down, and he wakes up. Knocking out both doctors and staring at the window, knowing Alan is behind it, Bruce tells him he is going to destroy the court. Bruce races around the base in search for his suit and equipment, relying only on intuition and martial arts skills to keep himself defended from the court's henchmen who try to stop him. Bruce eventually finds his suit and activates the locator so that Batgirl and the rest can find him and give him some assistance. Batman, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Catwoman would have a massive fight against the Talons. Eventually, Batgirl and Nightwing would plant explosives around the base's perimeter to crumble the secret base, and Batman and Catwoman go to confront Alan Wayne in a secret laboratory. While the base is blowing up and the Court of Owls history crumbles with it, Batman begins to destroy Alan's work for the future, and destroys any progress he made in the attempt to replicate a Lazarus Pit formula. Throughout the fight and all the destruction, Alan gets a hold of Catwoman and puts a gun to her head, while he yells at Batman for ruining everything, and that he wishes he had him killed along with his parents. Catwoman slips out of Alan's grasp and kicks Alan beneath a huge piece of the base ceiling that was falling. Alan Wayne, the leader of the Court of Owls, dies, along with the Court of Owls cult. By the end, everything more or less goes back to normal. Bruce thanks Dick Grayson for coming to his aid. Batman and Catwoman re-enter their on-again, off-again relationship. Harvey Dent comfortably gets back to sentencing criminals and cleaning up Gotham streets. Dick Grayson properly buries his grandfather, who happened to be one of the Talons, and Bruce starts to pay much more attention to Jason Todd and train him in everything he knows. In the ending scene, we would get a usual and classical scene of Bruce at the Batcomputer, with Alfred making him a fresh cup of coffee. Alfred says to Bruce that it feels like things have gotten better in Gotham over the past couple of weeks, but Bruce, of course, feels somewhat differently. He is once again looking at his metahuman files, looking at sightings and information of Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, and others. He can't help but feel like something is coming. And of course, just like all the others, this film would have an end credit scene. Joker has a therapy session with Dr. Harleen Quinzel, who at this point is far gone from a sane state. Her mind has been completely corrupted by the Joker and is madly in love with him. There would be a conversation the two of them would have in her office of Joker's plan of action, and the screen would fade to alarms blaring, Arkham security scrambling, and Joker's cell opened with no Joker inside. The screen would fade to black, and Joker would continue to laugh. So of course, I do hope you all enjoyed this story. I hope you all enjoyed the video. And as for tomorrow, August 12th, get ready for the big boy in Justice League from Cinema Hero. That will be a very exciting video that will cap off phase 1, and then eventually I will have something more to deliver to you guys in phase 2. So until that time happens, I hope you are all enjoying this DCCU collaboration, and until next time, I'll talk to you all very soon.